Hey, folks. So, in life, you can have upward of 1,000 problems. You can have shit go wrong left and right. You can deal with shit that you didn't expect to deal with. You can have issues that come out of nowhere. And oftentimes, at the worst time possible, something else happens and you have to be faced with dealing with that situation. And it gets to a point where a person may reach their breaking point. And everybody in life, I think, has a breaking point. And some people reach theirs sooner or later. But everybody has a point in life where they just can't take it anymore. And, it's so convenient for people to try and attempt to save the suicidal. That's always the thing that they like to do. They try to prevent the person from ending their suffering. And I know a lot of people like to theorize about what happens after death, and they like to give their spiel about what happens if someone commits suicide or something like that. And they like to tell this to suicidal people in hopes that they don't commit suicide. And to those of you who do that, stop. Really, stop. Because you're not helping that person. All you're doing is tormenting that person further with your theories. And the thing is, nobody knows what happens after death. You can theorize all day long and you still don't know. And anybody who says that they know for certain is a fucking liar or they're delusional. You don't know. Now, if somebody decides that life is just too much for them and they want out, they should have the right to say that they want out, because someone's breaking point is someone's breaking point. And there is a amount of pain in life that you can sustain where no amount of anything is going to be able to fix it. Really. And people say, well, just go for a walk or cope. And that's all that we can ever do in life, right? Is we have to cope, we have to find ways to deal with our pain. But I'm telling you, there are times in life when these coping mechanisms will fail, and there are thresholds that people cross where it's just enough and they won't be able to deal with it anymore. And I used to be like one of those people, people would come up to me and tell me they were suicidal, and I would, try to persuade them to stick around, right? I would try to tell them not to do it. And of course, at that time in my life, I was more religious and, in general, a little bit more naive about the situation, because I thought that people would um, be inclined to listen to me if I told them, just hang on. If I told them to think about their families and all these other things. And looking back at it now, I see that what that was really comparable to guilt tripping a victim. And I feel sorry that I ever did that. I feel sorry that I ever told someone to think about their families or to think about X, Y, and Z, when really that person needed someone who would listen to them and understand them in that situation, and not torment them further with more mental issues, mental problems that they have to deal with. But I've grown, and I don't do that anymore. I understand that we all have a threshold. And I understand that some people, you're not going to talk them off the ledge. You're not going to talk them out of taking the shotgun and ending the game. You're not going to do it. So I don't even bother. If someone tells me that they've reached their threshold of pain, the only thing that I can tell them is that I am genuinely sorry. I am genuinely sorry and heartbroken that life has harassed you to the point where this is the only option you feel you have left. I am genuinely sorry that life abused you to the point where you have to even think about taking your own life. And this is the reality of suffering in this world, you know? And the fact that people can't even have the autonomous right to end their lives with dignity and have to resort to cruel and horrendous punishments against themselves in order to end this nightmare just shows you how insidious this entire thing is. We have the means to produce and give dignified deaths, painless deaths to those who want to end their suffering, and we don't do it. I mean, it really is a nightmare of forcing people to endure torture for no good reason, for everybody else's feelings and everybody else's religion and everybody else's theories that don't amount to a hill of shit in the end. Let people leave. We had no right to be forced into this world. We should have every right to leave when we've had enough. It's a horrible situation. It's a horrible thing that we have to endure. And this story repeats all the time. Millions of people have committed suicide. Millions of people have lived abused and tortured lives up until the point that they decided that they just could not take it anymore. And you know, some assholes like to say that they're weak. No, they are far from weak. It takes strength to live a life for decades that has only abused you and tormented you every step of the way. It takes real strength to live another day when you know there is really no point to it. It takes strength to survive as long as you possibly can for the sake of other people while you yourself are a living shell and suffering day in and day out. People give all that they can give until they reach that point. And when they reach that point and want out, they have every right to do so. And I understand entirely. I'm not going to be the kind of guy who stands in the way. I've lost that ability. I can't do it anymore. I have to be honest. I have to be honest. And I hope that, you know, if someone is planning to do that, I hope that they at least have a very swift method that they can employ. And I'm not going to at all attempt to stop them because I understand that this life tortures people. And you have to get that. You have to understand that we are talking about solemn torture. And some people make up in their minds that it's not even about escaping the pain, it's about not giving life the satisfaction of abusing you further to the point of reducing you to nothing, to reducing you to a suffering pulp. It's about preserving the honor that you have left for yourself. And there are people who decide that they're not going to give life that satisfaction of inflicting another problem on them. And so they exit the game. Honorable, in my opinion. Nothing weak about it. But this is the shit that we have to deal with. This is the shitty situation that humans find ourselves in. We are forced into a game that is pitiless, that is merciless, that does not care about how old or how young you are. It abuses whoever it finds to abuse. And some people get that abuse in horrendous amounts. There are people who live lives of just absolute suffering from the time they were born until their adulthood. And they can't take it. And the sad part about it is when they leave, these fucking breeders, they produce another child who will probably walk the same path. And it's just such a shitty cycle to see. You know, one person goes, another one comes, and it doesn't stop until humans finally wake up and realize that this shitty game should not be imposed onto another being. It needs to end. And humans should hopefully realize that they have no right to impose torture on another being for their own satisfaction. Because that suicide could be their son, their daughter, and it can happen. All of these tragedies in life, all of the horrendous shit that you see in life, if you're planning on being a parent, look at the things that are happening to people and in people's lives. What makes you think that it won't happen in your child's life? You are directly putting them into the fire and hoping for a better outcome, that they won't get burned. But it's almost guaranteed that they will. You have no right to torture people. And unfortunately, I don't think humanity will ever raise to the awareness needed to stop this. And that's just really fucked up. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I'm not going to sit here and try to convince somebody to hang on for a futile game. And I most certainly am not going to torment them with platitudes or with some kind of uh, moralist statement about how they should continue to endure their pain. No, fuck that. If you want out, I hope that your out is at least swift and painless as possible.